the worst week of auction results since 2022.
I was just watching a video that I'm going to stitch at the end of my little talk here. I've been looking at property at the Gold Coast. I came to Gold Coast many times in the past 15 or so years. I love it. It's different. It's better. Not just the beach, not just the weather, but the people. Some are saying there's a lot of crime. I don't watch news. I haven't seen any crime. So it's very different from Sydney. It'll never be as bad as Sydney as far as the traffic. Yes, it's busy, but it's different busy. Roads are wide. People are cycling safely. I've been looking at the property and found out that there's obviously a strip, the most valuable strip between Gold Coast Highway and the beach, and that's where all the popular resorts and buildings and hotels are, and the rest of it is the suburbs. When you visit as a tourist, you don't really care what's past the highway or just past the highway, where all the suburbs start, and all the houses, including mansions, which by the way are sold for anything from $4-5 million up to $10-20 million, which is actually incredible. People are obsessed by water, the canals. People are obsessed by the beach. It is exactly that. It's an obsession, in my opinion. Everyone just, especially in Sydney, I joke about it, is that people just love the beach. It's like, what do you want to do? Let's go to the beach. I think there's more to life than the beach. Having said that, that's pushed the prices up everywhere. Having said all that, I started looking about 8 months ago, and it was, I think it was pumping, pretty much. So the beginning of 2024, I was looking online, and but I didn't really know the areas that much. And then I came up here to take a look at a few and inspections and auctions, and I found out that it slowed right down. And I wasn't sure, because again, I don't watch the news and I don't know what they're saying, but you'll see the video after this one coming from a real estate agent. I noticed exactly the same thing. It just stopped selling. You'll have properties for expression of interest by such and such date, and that date comes, next thing you know, they've got the new heading on that listing saying contact agent, or offers above 1.5 million, which is when they're revealing their hand. But then that's on there for a couple of weeks, because I check it every day, and then it's not offers over 1.5, it's offers over 1.45. So they dropped it by 50,000, and I keep seeing it. Or there's an auction scheduled for in 4 weeks' time from the date of the listing roughly, and then either before the auction even happens, the auction date happens, they pull it, and then it doesn't say auction anymore, and doesn't say what the date it is. It just says contact agent, or it says offers above, or it just says the price. So they didn't even bother going to the auction, because they realize that there isn't that much interest, is my observation, speculation, because why wouldn't you go to the auction? The ones that make it to the auction, they don't get clearance, they don't get sold, they get passed in. And I've been to many, and there's absolutely no interest. There'll be one or two bidders. A few properties there was no bidders. The agent would show up and say, or the auctioneer would show up and say, keep the face and say, the language is actually amazing, that it takes you a little while to figure out that what they're saying is that there was no registered parties, but what they said is, we've got some parties that are interested, but so we're going to start off with the vendor bid. And they started this property vendor bid $1.745 million, and going once, going twice, and nobody had registered. There was no interested parties. How do I know? Because after a day or two, it shows up, says, offers, or 1.8. It said 1.8 million, and then after that, another few days, it says 1.75. So what happened to the interested party? So they're keeping the language, and they're keeping a brave face or poker face, not admitting that the party is over, at least at this moment, unless it turns around like it did in 2020, 2021, when it just turned around and exploded another 30-40%. in a few years' time, which is incredible, amazing, which could happen if something happens and they drop the interest rates. But then again, that means you have to have a strong employment, which I don't see that it's super strong. People seem to have jobs, but what are they paying? Can you still afford to pay off your mortgage that they've dropped from whatever it is now, 6% down to 2%? So they're paying it off. I don't know, but I'm seeing it everywhere. Agents are calling, agents are crawling. I think what the vendors are doing is that they're expecting the trajectory to continue to be up. So, if the similar property got sold for 1.4 million last year, or last 6 months before, they expect it to be, 1.4? They expect it to be listed for 1.5 and to get that, because it's going to continue going there, but it doesn't seem to be. So right now it's a poker game, like I said, and if the vendors, the owners, are desperate enough to drop it down to where the buyers want to pay or can pay, can afford to pay, that's where the meat of the price, the bid, offer and bid will meet, unless the buyers come up with more money because they drop the interest rates, and then they can just borrow more and then meet the current asking prices. But yeah, some of the asking prices are crazy, especially in the Gold Coast. It's caught up a lot to Sydney, unfortunately. But like I said, that could change. And now I see this video, and that video is all about Sydney, which I'm not across right now. So that'll be interesting to see what happens.
As I wake up this morning, I read in the Australian Financial Review the numbers. The worst week of auction results since 2022. Now, these results are clearer today because, as we know, on a Saturday afternoon, real estate people that aren't happy with the result of their auction often will not answer the data companies. But 48 hours later, we have clarity as to what the real clearance rate was, which Louis Christopher from SQM says will adjust down to around 40% of the clearance rate. And as far as I'm concerned, any vendor out there, and I've faced quite a few on the weekend that did not do a deal for 20, 30 grand, I think you should do a deal for 20, 30 grand, because it might look like you're selling on the lower side today, but in 8 weeks' time, you'll look like you got top dollar. That's right. I don't think it's going to get better anytime soon. I think it will get worse anytime soon, because there's just stock is building up. So you can just picture the fatigue of stock we're going to have late November. Anyway, team, this is good news for the buyers.